War stories from World War I have traditionally been told by men about men. Not so well known are the women's stories at home and near the front lines. Tonight's story is about nurses and one of the greatest tragedies in our wartime nursing history. 10 nurses were drowned when the Marquette, a troop ship carrying soldiers and medics, was torpedoed.
So glad they came.
So you ordered these?
Had Matron Finlay, right?
In the TV series Anzac Girls, Antonia Preble's character was based on Hilda Steele, the only New Zealand nurse in the program.
When we filmed Anzac Girls and when I researched Hilda Steele and what she went through over here, I already had a huge amount of admiration and respect for her.
The Surgeon General decreed that Australian nurses were no longer to work as anaesthetists. Well, I'm a New Zealander. I'd like to be rostered back on in theatre, please.
Welcome back, Sister Steele.
She proved herself to be a woman of remarkable ability, strength, courage and endurance. It just added an extra dimension of the pride that I feel that I was able to play her.
Hilda Steele left Egypt for France to face the dangers of the front line, shelling and gas poisoning. Fresh from the TV series Anzac Girls, Antonia Preble was invited on a memorial cruise to Greece and Turkey for New Zealand and Australian nurses. On the trip, she learnt about the sinking of the Marquette.
It is such a sad and tragic story because the nurses really shouldn't have been on that troop ship. It wasn't a specific hospital ship, so technically it was allowed to be torpedoed.
The Marquette was heading for Greece with 741 people on board, including 36 New Zealand nurses and hundreds of mules. One of the New Zealand nurses, Edith Popperwell, wrote,
There were rumours of torpedoes, of course, and we had lifebelt drill for 2 days, which we really took hardly seriously, I'm afraid.
On the morning of the 23rd of October 1915, a German torpedo slammed into the side of the Marquette. Several on board saw it coming, including a member of the Medical Corps, Bernard Bell of Wellington.
We were electrified into action by a terrific explosion, and the ship tremoured like a first-class New Zealand earthquake.
Edith Popperwell continues.
Everyone was so calm, and although men and girls alike were white as sheets, no one cried or spoke even, except to give orders.
Bernard Bell again.
She seemed poised for a moment, with about 100 feet of her sticking out clear of the water. Then she was gone and we were alone. The sea was covered in human beings and wreckage.
They wanted to get the troops off the ship before they themselves got off the ship, which they did, and that meant that specifically led to some of them losing their lives because it meant they weren't able to get in the lifeboats. The ship was leaning on a terrible angle, so it was really hard to get them in the water. So a few nurses fell out of the boats. One boat fell on top of the other lifeboat getting into the water. So it was tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy, really.
I hope they're resting in peace.
As reports of the mounting death toll at Gallipoli reached New Zealand, there was grief and outrage about this loss of life on the unprotected troop ship, the Marquette. It was 9 hours before the survivors were rescued. 167 people drowned, including 10 New Zealand nurses. Our worst maritime disaster of World War I.